Yes.
What up?
What's happening? Welcome to the SLT podcast.
Come on.
Yes, see it, we got it up there. You know who it is. My name is Ziggy Moore, founder, owner of More Education. You know what we do. Check us out for exam resources, tuition, workbooks, free, ebooks, free, just bare things. You know what we do. We also have
Mr. Crawford, radical educator, out here trying to contribute to the betterment of the black community in whatever capacity
Okay.
can.
Before we start on our topic, let me ask you a question. You went to the Black Men Teach
Hey,
retreat.
shout out BMT. Come on.
Shout out BMT, Black Men Teach. Do you know what? I got the news late. I would have loved to have been there. Was it a weekend? Like a whole.
It was. Reached there Friday morning, leave Saturday evening. So one night.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
Right. Tell us just a little bit about what Black Men Teach are. I know you're an associate. You're not an official, but an associate. And what the retreat was about, please.
Yeah, Black Men Teach. Shout out to all the core team. I'm going to particularly reference Albert and Janoy, who kind of spearhead the organization. It started as my interpretation of it, or my understanding of it. It started as a space for young black men, particularly in education, to kind of have like a safe space to be able to unpick their journey and their struggles and adversity that they go through as educators, and now it's grown into an organization or a platform that contributes to the development of young people and the support, I would say, the emotional and physical support of black educators, not just black men, principally black men, but not just black men. They run mentoring programs for young people in both primary and secondary schools. They run workshops and retreats for black educators. Amazing organization. Got all the time in the world for them, man.
Yeah, love what they do. Just wanted to big them up. It's interesting because I met a young teacher at the event, and me and him have stayed in touch, and he wanted to go into tutoring.
Yeah.
And
I know exactly who you're talking about. He's there, Tarek.
Yeah. Big up Tarek. I put a little course together for him, showed him how to get into tutoring. He's making some extra
He's doing bits,
bro. He's doing his.
Shout out Tarek,
Listen, he's doing his thing, man, and he's really proud to just be able. I love being able to do that. He sent me a voice note the other day, like, yo, the thing's coming together, and thank you, and so on and so forth. I know he's like job interviews, like it would let me know, so on and so forth. And there is that collective, and I'm so glad it's there.
Yeah.
And the guys from Black Men Teach have put that together, and I'm able to kind of even contribute and help. Because I know when I was early in the game, there were very few people who were showing me the way. It was mainly women, if I'm going to be honest.
So 2 things. I will talk about that briefly, then I'll go back to Black Men Teach. When I first started at the school, it was you that sat me down. First started at NQT. Shout out 2013. You sat me down. It was in a humanities classroom. You brought me in and said, "Yo, this is what I got." Remember that? I remember that.
Yeah.
So big up for that.
Yes.
I think our connection has maintained and growing stronger year on year. Coming back to Black Men Teach and that Black Men Teach retreat in particular, I can't lie, I needed that, I needed that.
Yeah.
Just in it, if I reference one thing in particular, the difficulty and the current circumstances of my professional existence at that time, be it through the struggles of education on a wider scale, be it through the struggles of the school in particular, and be it through the struggles of my particular role, I was in quite a space that I'd never been in before, mentally and emotionally, and being around those people was just really uplifting. Hearing there's people there been in the game 3 decades.
I'm trying to remember. His name is at the Cozier. Patrick Cozier.
Yeah.
From Highgate. I know he was there. Yeah, his name's rang out like my whole career.
30 years in the game.
Yeah.
And I was just sat there. There was a plethora of things he said that I will carry with me. I said that to him at the end. But while he was speaking, him and Adrian Rowlands, that he was another head in the Midlands. He didn't speak, but he was there in the event. Shout out,
Sorry.
Adrian. I'm sat there thinking, yeah, 10 years in the game. To me, that I can say I've been here for a decade and I've been putting time in, and it's been harder than it's ever been. But I was sat there thinking, them man have been in this thing.
Sorry, go on.
Them man have been in this thing for 3 decades.
Doing it.
And the position or the state of the education sector during those different iterations, I can't even comprehend. Like, what am I? What secondary schools are like for black people in the
early 90s.
What? And we spoke about humility earlier.
Yeah.
Off camera, and I was thinking to me, it humbled me. It made me think, yo, level up, and it just reinvigorated me and bring it back to BMT. It was. I don't think they appreciate how impactful that was to me at that time.
Sorry, I got a coughing fit.
You okay?
Yeah, hopefully I will be. Yeah, so I had to, and I'll constantly big them up. We should try and get them on SLT.
Yeah. Sure.
Pod ASAP. They're two. Again, I'm gonna humble guys like Albert, humble. I love those guys. So we move from speaking about one set of black male educators to another prominent black male educator who really seems to rub everybody up the wrong way. Like and it's mad because we see when I was younger. When I was younger, like my mum's generation, like they rated him. Like he I remember he used to have you know what I'm talking about. They know who I'm talking about. He used to have a section in The Voice.
Yeah.
He used to have I don't know if it was monthly or weekly, because this is when like column. This is not column. He had a page, bro. He had a page. This is when like black people used to buy The Voice like every week religiously.
Get me?
Yeah. Not now like couple Instagram. I'm talking. The Voice was the voice of the black community.
Yeah.
Done. Not say it's not now, but I'm talking. Man was reading that cover to cover.
Yeah.
Standard. I remember he even had a show on. Not a show. There was a documentary on BBC. I think it was. I'm almost sure it was a BBC. Where his organization, I want to say Educating Genius or Creating Jesus, and they took a load of his charity of children from South London to UWI in Jamaica, the Mona campus, to look at science and so on and so forth. And his premise, I'm talking about Tony Sewell, if you haven't picked up, was that
a lot of people wouldn't have picked up, by the way. That's why I think the perception of us now, or the image that he has now, it is not informed by all of that.
So he was somebody who was about pushing and creating, ensuring black children see themselves. This is what my understanding of you in areas of science, technology, and engineering, STEM subjects, like seeing them there, pushing them there, and like kind of pushing the boundaries of how we see ourselves as black children. Parents, he was quite a voice and an advocate. I know he had his detractors, but after the race report, that guy got rinsed. He got, oh gosh, he got absolutely rinsed. And interestingly enough, have you ever watched his interviews? I can, with my teacher's hat on, and I can see how his brain works and how he definitely looks like as if his learning style, or he may be like me, SEND, and I don't mean that. I mean more so spectrum. on the spectrum. Yeah, I don't know if he's identified, but I can definitely see that and how he articulates his points. And he's not the most kind of charming. He's not like you, basically.
Absolute.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't have the the pizzazz, the smile. I've seen the comments, guys, in YouTube. I've seen the comments. I know who your favorite is. It's fine.
No hate at all there, No hate at all.
But he doesn't have that charm. He doesn't, but he knows his stuff, and he's been in the game for a while, similar to your Coziers, similar to those guys. And he was on Tony Sewell was on LBC the other day, yeah, with conservative stalwart Ian Dale, yeah. And he was talking about. Hold on, let me play this. He was talking about. I'm not sure if you can hear this.
Racism is one of the factors that are stopping people from getting jobs. What we said in the report, though, there were a number of complex reasons.
So he says racism is one of the factors that impacts employment, educational outcomes, so on and so forth. But it isn't kind of the major factor. And I think the headline that was taken from that was that racism no longer exists in the UK. It's come up again on social media because of this interview, but in essence, he's regurgitating the stuff from the 2021 race report, which is an 82-page report. Do you remember when it came out? I told you about it.
Yeah. We spoke about it at the time.
Yes, we spoke about it at the time.
He's off the back of the BLM protests.
Yes, yeah, and it was commissioned by what's that guy's name? Golden ginger hair, lots of baby mothers.
What was he used to be mayor at the time?
Mayor, and then he went on to lead the country. I can't remember his name. Yeah,
Party boy.
Yeah, but he's got that man's got he's got bare baby mothers. That's all I know, and he don't deal with his picnic. Yo, he's wild. Can't remember his name. It will come to me anyway at some point. It was commissioned by him, and I'm going to say this point. From an educational perspective and as a black educator, I took the time to read all 82 pages.
And you said that to me multiple times. Yo, have you read the report? Have you read the report? I remember you saying that to me.
I took the time because I thought it was important. And I didn't agree with everything in the report. There were lots of things that I didn't agree with. There were some things I was like, okay, I can see what you're saying. There's some things I was like, this actually reigns true in my educational experience. You've forgotten this caveat that would make this look differently. But what I didn't do was I didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah? I didn't...
What do you mean when you say that?
Similar from the stuff that's going around on social media after his interview with Ian Dale, I think a few weeks ago. Similar to the reaction after the race report was launched. He's been lambasted. He's been dismissed. His points have been dismissed. There's been no critical thought or critical argument around him. There are just these general... And I'm starting to wonder if these people are plants. Yeah? This general, like it basically is an idiot. Complete dismissal of what he's saying. There is no critique of what he's saying. I'm yet to witness it because, he said ages ago that specifically on outcomes, GCSE outcomes. So that's what we're going to focus on.
There is distinctions.
There are greater distinctions than simply race. They're black. So firstly, and I made a live about this the other day. The idea black as a blanket term is ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as BAME.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of that.
Facts.
Within black, you have black African. Within black African, you have West African, East African, North African, Southwest African, South African, which all have different concepts and ideas around education, culturally. Within that, you have black Caribbean. Even within quote unquote black Caribbean, from island to island, you have different ideas and concepts around education. So I tend to find, I'm going to use this term very...
What are you going to say?
Our brothers from the smaller islands, smaller, not small, smaller islands.
Martinique.
Nah, like your St. Lucia's, your Barbados.
Trinidad, Trini.
No, them Trini men ain't on it. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Even though Guyana's not an island, their view of education, their view and how they deal with education, they tend to be much more serious.
It's
about.
Sorry to cut you. Yeah. So what you're saying, what you're talking about is a cultural influence between different parts of the Caribbean and how that informs the educational outcomes. Okay.
So I think it is St. Lucia has per capita the highest amount of Nobel Prize winners than anywhere in the world. I know. Okay. Yeah. I want to say one of them is Derek Walcott. I can't remember who, but in regards to like writing and even when you look at the GCSE specification and you look at literature, what's my brethren called again? John Agard.
Okay.
Not a personal brethren. I'm just saying. I've read him so many times. I feel like he is. He's been on the spec.
Oh no, that wasn't the orange ties.
He's been on the spec for as long. Not because let's just throw any random. Because and then you've got Grace Nichols, who's what you like in Guyana. They're rich. Literature and reading and education and so on and so forth. I've had big up my Guyanese family. All day long they're gonna love me for this. Do you know what I mean? But I've had an insight into the culture and I look at this specifically from a more education perspective. Because because I'm a nerd. I break down on a granular level the intake of students that we have.
Yeah.
And even if you tick Black Caribbean, I'll go away and ask a kid, I'll run a joke and I'll say, And I look at it that, okay, many of the students, from Black Caribbean, we've got more, you would assume there'd be more Black Jamaicans, but more Black Caribbeans of the other islands, and areas, are more likely to invest in their children's extracurricular activities than quote-unquote people who are Jamaican. Today's SLT podcast is sponsored by none other than More Education, the UK's leading online Black-owned supplementary service.
Guaranteed grades. Sorry.
Guaranteed grades. All your money back. I love that. Tell us about the guaranteed grades,
Guaranteed grades, 6s, 7s, 8s. Don't watch that. You getting it?
All right. See, I didn't say it. But make sure, if you want to find out where your child is, what's happening with your child, how we can support, we've got amazing facilities. Log on to moreeducation.co.uk. And at the moment, we are doing an offer for £47. You can have an assessment. So we can tell you exactly what your child's doing in maths and English, where they are, what they need to improve on, and a consultation where you get to sit down with me and I discuss how to plot the next steps of your child's road to success. Log on, moreeducation.co.uk. What do we say?
Guaranteed grades.
And so when we're looking at the term Black,
why?
Why? We'll get into it after. When we look at the term Black, it can be broken down on such a granular level. That it can't just simply be looked at like that.
So bringing it back to the Tony Sewell report or the interview that was informed by his report.
Yeah.
You said that categorizing race is you're saying that the reason why he's saying that race is not a significant contributing factor because there are so many different aspects to the blanket of race.
Yes, there are so many different aspects that you can't just say, it's racism. It's because it can't just be. There are other elements.
I'm not trying to sit on the fence, or for fear of sounding like I'm sitting on the fence. I get it. I partly agree, I partly disagree. So, first of all, in regards to the report and the animosity that he received from the Black community off the back of that, from a political perspective or from a PR perspective, surely he understood he served a purpose, which was let's find a way to kind of play down this issue so that we don't have to respond, and he was the perfect candidate for that. Surely he can get that.
I understand that 100%. I get it. I get they weren't necessarily gonna get Professor Kahindi Andrews. They're not going to commission him to do the report because the outcomes may be slightly different. They're going to be different.
But I say that to say you got to expect the animosity because you look yes, you're looking at it objectively. There's an argument to be made that you're looking at it objectively. Mm-hmm. 2, no one's necessarily disagreeing. My point is, yes, we all know that there are a multitude of factors that contribute to the outcomes of young people. Race is one of them. Mm-hmm. Where can you show me the strategic intervention to tackle that? The same way I can show you the strategic intervention to tackle all of the other contributing factors to the outcomes of young people. If we look at the 2 principal ones, we know that learning needs is a contributing factor to outcomes. Mm-hmm. So it's a legal obligation for educational institutions to have special educational needs provision. Mm-hmm. Economical advantage or disadvantage is a significant contributing factor to the outcomes of kids. Mm-hmm. So we know that there was legislative policies to contribute to combating that. Pupil premium. Yep. If we all acknowledge that race is a contributing factor, why is there no legislation? And the reason why it's not to say I don't disagree with what he's saying. Mm-hmm. It's not to say that I don't disagree with what you're saying in regards to the nuance around breaking that down from a cultural perspective. But the report doesn't allow to introduce a system or a piece of legislation or a strategy to tackle race, however impactful it is. That's what
I think you make a brilliant point, and the reason, even if it's just to kind of possibly come up with a reason why. Again, it comes down to if we critically broke it down like that. Mm-hmm. And said, okay, it's not the most contributing factor there are, but we acknowledge it is a factor. Yeah. In other ways, how do we then harness or leverage this to get some kind of outcome or political outcome based on this data? But we, as I said, this is where throwing baby out with the bathwater and not being critical. Yeah. And this is a thing that is frustrating because that's a brilliant argument, but nobody's saying that. Nobody's. No, we trying to say racism don't exist and so on. It's like, no. That's not what we're saying. And all that is going to continue to happen are the disparity of Black Caribbean children within the UK is going to become greater. And I say Black British. It's a distinction I make. You've got Black Caribbean and you have Black British. Yeah. Black British children are completely different.
Yeah. And I agree. What I was going to ask you earlier about you breaking down the different Caribbean cultures, the time in which everybody reaches here also is a contributing factor, isn't it?
Yeah, no, 100%.
That speaks to that.
100%. Most Black Caribbean, or would be deemed as Black Caribbean in the UK, they're like 3rd, 4th generation. Mm. It's funny, I was teaching somebody this week who his granddad and my dad knew each other. You with me? We're talking 3-4 generations deep now, yeah? In this country. And a lot of those kids have never been back to Jamaica. A lot of the grandkids, the great-grandkids, they have no concept. So they're more used to Morley's and flipping JD Sports than they are to Ackee and Saltfish and going to the beach. Mm. That's what their reality is. So to have the same educational expectations is gonna be absolutely impossible. So in essence, we need to acknowledge those differences, which we're not doing, and as you said, begin to legislate for those differences. Yep. Which we refuse to do because, again, I think I've said it in another pod, and I've said it again. It's the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's the boring stuff.
And it absolves us as accountability.
Yeah, we we cut him off. We'll make TikToks, but we won't register to vote. You're not voting.
Who you gonna ask me to vote for?
Okay, all right.
And
it's
who you
interesting.
going to ask me to vote for?
Because I was having I was on a popular blog site, and there's a lady called Natalie Campbell. There are other candidates available for different parties, but we are not endorsing any particular candidate. We're just referring to one. And
disclaimer.
And I heard people saying, I saw comments like, she was a former conservative, she's a this, she's a that, I'm never voting. And I just,
she's a conservative.
because she was a former conservative. I don't know anything about her. I just was just looking at the comments like, this is interesting.
Labour's so much better.
Listen, I'm non-partisan. I'm whoever gives me the best deal. Yeah.
And who is that?
No, hold on. You can't. Let me get there. So my comment was,
sorry, I'll let you land.
because I know Labour HQ.
Yeah.
Look at all of these comments. They're very deep into what's being happening to be able to get a sense. I'm like, they must be loving this, because in essence, what the comments are saying is, we will never vote for this person based on the fact that they were a conservative.
Yeah.
So they said, it doesn't matter what she offers us, it doesn't matter what she says, we're not going to back her.
In other words, you mean nothing to that party, and you have no leverage over that party
Nothing.
or their legislative agenda.
And
you are nobody.
And our particular stance is, we're either not going to vote, and it's not an active, because you can actively not vote, as a group.
Okay, go on. Sorry, I'll let you finish, and then I'll explain my point.
You can actively not vote as a group.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, we said our two biggest, so based on 2021 race report, this, based on the Windrush scandal, these are our two major political issues. Mr. Conservative, Mr. Labour, and whoever else is involved, yeah?
What can you do for this?
We in London have 250, 250,000 registered voters. Black voters.
We're gonna pull them
Yes.
unless you speak to these.
So we can either shift our votes this way, or we will make sure that the votes who traditionally vote for Labour don't vote. When that happens, or we'll just split the vote. When that happens, you now have to negotiate with us. And I appreciate on a local level for the Mayor of London, those two issues don't really work because they're more national. Just not showing my political ignorance, but I'm just giving an example.
Yeah,
you could do it on a national level as well.
I understand your point you're making. I think political leaders have less influence than we like to believe. I think not anything, that's an exaggeration. Not to say that they don't push the needle, but to put so much stock in voting because it's a right that we've all fought for, blah blah blah, etc. Yes, whatever. That's not where the impact comes, and I'll give you specific examples to reinforce my point. If I can give you a number of fundamental changes within the fabric of society, which have come about through legislation, but that haven't been driven from the political leaders at the time. They've been driven from grassroots movements. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, the NHS. The NHS was not born out of a moral sensibility from whatever political party was in moment in time. I know it was a Labour leader that introduced the NHS. It came off the back of 2 world wars and a necessity. Yeah. The suffragette movements, the women's right to vote, that was not born out of the political leaders at the time saying, do you know what? You're right, women do have the right to vote. It was born out of social necessity because them man were terrorists at the time. There were over 1,000 people that got arrested and tens of millions of pounds of damage. They were blowing up buildings. They were killing people, and it got to the point where the political leaders said, "We have no choice but to listen to this movement.
To come to the table. Yes,
You have to come to the table." The last one, the straw that broke the camel's back for me, that made me lose faith in the power of I'm going to use the term voting, but political leaders, and this further evidenced how it actually is coming from the grassroots movement, which speaks to the fact that it doesn't matter who's in power at the time; they do what we tell them to do, whether you're on the right or on the left. The Equality Act, and prior to that, the Disability Discrimination Act in 2005. That act was created to ensure that people with disabilities have equal rights and access to employment. Sounds like a non-negotiable, standard issue.
Yeah.
You have a disability, and you should not be refused or be discriminated against in regards to being able to find employment as a result of your disability. You know how many years it took for people to protest for that legislation to be passed?
Talk to me.
Years. Go back and watch the clips. There's clips of people in wheelchairs handcuffing themselves to buses and blocking roads, blocked off the Westminster Bridge, protesting outside Westminster for years.
So you're saying that? So in essence, you're saying voting is a waste of time.
I'm saying it doesn't carry as much weight as the perception.
So I hear you, a singular vote, but voting as a group
as a block.
and a block.
We don't have that.
Of course we do.
So we don't. We only have that through the grassroots movement to then use that access, use that political leverage.
Galvanize.
It starts from the bottom. We'll say bottom. We're talking about political and legislative power. It starts from the grassroots. This is the part, the group that we are. This is the power that we hold. We're going to use that power and use that leverage to force you to do stuff. And that might be saying we're refusing to vote for you. It might be us causing ruckus. It might be us boycotting certain industries, etc., etc. But the source of that power, of that leverage, comes from the grassroots movement, not from the vote. The vote is a symptom or consequence of that.
I think at some point we're gonna have to come back to this, because this is a running thread through our podcast. But we're gonna wrap it up for today. Some people might not understand how does teaching relate to politics, but it's deeply entrenched and entwined. And it's something we're gonna do. But we're gonna wrap up today's pod. Thank you very much. Remember, check us out on the YouTube, Instagram, where else? The TikTok,
the
carrier
Facebook,
pigeon, and all that other good stuff. You know where to find us. Listen, put your comments in. Let's hear what you've got to say. And thank you for continually watching the SLT pod.